Who's in here already?
It's me, Bruchelle.
I knew you'd be there 20 minutes before the start. What?
And that was very small. It wasn't like a big school, and there were probably 100 kids or less than 200 kids from kindergarten through 8th grade in that building for me. So to go to a school that's in an urban area that has a lot more kids, that's a lot bigger, and to see how different that is from my experiences in elementary school, and how like I live in a small town where there was 100 kids in my graduating class from high school, to see how like different all of the schools are when you leave smaller towns like this, and how like a bigger school, what does that mean then for the kids? Like, there's more teachers, there's obviously more going on. And so for me, it was like really different to kind of see a bigger school like that, because I never experienced that.
Okay.
I would agree too with Meg, because honestly, I did go to a Catholic high school and elementary school, and also to experience a school that Spanish is a second language, and there's more of the student body is Hispanic and like any other nationality, was something I really never experienced before. I'm Spanish, you can't tell, but I'm Spanish, and I really just like, it was very surprising, because in my class, it was really everything that I talked about with my chapter. Like, my chapter was death and the family, like that just happened at my last visit. They were like, oh wow, his father died and we're trying to make cards for him, but we can't say we're sorry for your loss. We'd be like, we're happy, we're friends with you. And I was like, oh, I just did this chapter and did that too. So I'm happy I like knew how to respond to it, and how she responded basically how the book said too.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Hannah. Others? The question is, how did 205 change your idea of teaching, or urban versus suburban? I'm going to call on you. You might as well volunteer so we can get out of here.
Well, this was my first experience with a class, like my first education class. So it was the first one where I saw everything from like a teacher's point of view. So like I guess I did realize, but I just didn't really think about like how much goes into like classroom design, or like body language and how you interact with students, and like even like colors and how that could change like the mood of a classroom. Okay. And just like interacting as a teacher. So
awesome.
I definitely agree with that. I think this class has given me like a lot of perspective on like the standards of teaching and how they've like changed since I was in elementary school.
Awesome.
I agree with what Dana just said about like not necessarily about urban versus suburban, but like with the idea of how things have changed so much since like we were in elementary school. And like I've gotten that a lot from 205, and then I've also gotten that a lot from like my math education class. Like things are just so different now. I feel like a lot more is expected of both the student and the teacher, and like it hasn't even been that long. And then on the subject of like urban versus suburban schools, I can't really speak suburb wise because I'm from like a very rural area. And I mean, I've gone to high school and elementary school, like both in my very small town and in the city. So like before 205, I did have some experience with both, and also with like, I used to go into elementary schools to like teach dance classes after school. And I did that both at a very rural school and at PS 11 in Chelsea in Manhattan. And like, for me, I guess I didn't really experience much difference between like how I interacted with the students, how I work with them, like urban versus suburban. But with 205, like actually being in the classroom, like there is definitely like, at least when it comes to language and like actual cultural background, there's a lot more obviously diversity in the city. But like socioeconomically, I can't speak for the suburbs, but I think you're like in all the elementary schools I've been in, there's been a lot of socioeconomic diversity. So I think that's kind of constant, but like races and like culture is very different in the city, and that's something you have to learn to work with.
True. Awesome. Thanks.
I think I learned a lot about like the students and what helps them, what hurts them, and more just like about what kinds of students we'll see and what kinds of like differences there could be in the classroom.
Was it
What about
helpful,
you,
or do you feel, are you turned off? Are you more excited? I mean, what's your feeling about it after kind of looking at all these issues?
I would say it's definitely helpful because I know what to expect. It didn't like turn me off or anything, because like I obviously like was in a classroom like in elementary school and stuff, so I've seen the kids that are like different, I guess.
Okay,
So it's like I'm used to those kinds of kids. So
awesome. Thanks, Meredith. Thanks.
I think for me, like taking this course and just like getting the hands-on experience, like it really showed me that like I chose like the right path, because I really liked learning a lot like about the different ways that you can work in the classroom, and then actually like putting it to play and actually working with the students. And also like we learned a lot of different like technological things, and I feel like that's very important because technology is like taking up a lot of our world today.
Yeah.
So we definitely have to know how to use that in the classroom as well.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, you could go. Okay, I'll go. I was saying that I agree with Natalie that I think that before I was just like, oh, you could get through it, because me like personally, I'm not a really like technological person or whatever. But now I really see that you really do need to use it in the classroom, especially now. And I saw it in the classroom that I was in, and you really do need it.
Yeah, you do. You do. Did you find, and we're going to keep going, but talk a little bit more about that technology, because just the simple making a flyer, a lot of you had never used templates before. And the infographic, I got so many questions like, oh my God, what do I do with this? And then when you made these wonderful like infographics, you can use that in any class, but it just makes your paper or your explanation of things just so much more clear. So talk a little bit about that and how you got it. What else you got out of the class? Who else?
Well, I was gonna say like how when I came into the class, I feel like I thought I knew everything about PowerPoint, and then we learned so much more that I didn't even know you could do. So I thought that was so useful, because I feel like when you're a teacher, you need to use PowerPoint in the class almost like every day. And it's really good to learn these new things that when I was in elementary school, I didn't learn, but I guess I could teach when I'm teaching to my kids.
Right.
Even in Word document, I didn't know how to make like a table of contacts. I don't know that much to me, but I didn't know how to do that either. So I thought that was good. And then I loved going to the school. I thought the kids were great. And like I didn't really, well, I've been going to like I went to a suburban school all my life, pretty white, like all my life. So I wasn't exposed to like mainly Spanish speaking students, which I really enjoyed. I loved that. I thought it was great. I loved every minute of being in that school. I thought it was amazing.
You will never look at PowerPoint again the same, ever. Right. Go ahead. I got some more people out there. Go ahead. Everybody's got to go.
Okay, so I'll say, like Natalie said, after taking this course, I feel like it puts a lot into perspective, and I actually do feel like I chose the right field to go into.
Okay.
After, like, thinking about it and, like, actually reading the articles that you had put onto the discussion, with, like, the seating arrangements, I realized there's so many different ways that you can put your classroom together, whether it be seating wise or how you like what you actually put into the classroom, how you teach the lessons and everything. I think it really depends on like the teacher, and I feel like you put that on us, so we had a chance to be able to put that into perspective throughout our discussions. And I feel like going to PS7, it helped a lot, because as a freshman, I know we don't really get to do a lot of hands-on stuff, but I feel like going to PS7 actually did put things into perspective, especially drawing in the Rocket book and writing down notes and taking notes in classes.
Awesome. Thanks, Alana.
Yeah, I really didn't think about all the technical stuff that had to go into teaching like before this class, because like I've never had an education class before. And then we were talking about all the like where people should sit and like the colors that go into the classroom, and I never really thought about that when like having to go into teaching, to think about all this stuff to prepare for.
Awesome. Thanks, Julia.
Going off what Claire said about PowerPoint, I feel like I'm the kind of person that I never really liked Google Slides. And I feel like in today's day and age, like so many professors are kind of like pushing it on us. So it was kind of nice to hear that like PowerPoint still does, even though it's like older and like a lot of people kind of think it's outdated, that like it does have certain aspects of like technology that Google Slides like can't offer you, like with the animations and everything.
Yeah.
So I honestly, I feel like I did better working with the PowerPoint in this class than I have with like Google Slides and like my other classes. So I enjoyed working with it more.
Awesome. Thanks, Michaela.
What I enjoyed was like all the topics that we learned about, like color in the classroom, seating arrangements, and then being able and given the opportunity to see it in an actual classroom and observe how other teachers are incorporating all these aspects was really good to see, because it made me reflect on what I would do differently or what I would mimic. And overall, I just liked how we studied things that we would go on to see and then go on to use in the future. So
Great. Thanks, Cheyenne. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, so I learned a lot about technology as well, because I personally didn't even have Word downloaded in my computer.
Yeah.
So I used to do the PDFs and send you them, and you were like, you have to use Word. So I finally downloaded it.
Okay, good.
And from that point, I started using it, and I learned a lot from it and from PowerPoint. And I liked the book we used as well. It made me expand my mind in certain topics like the deaths and welcome kits and kinds of strategies you can use to help kids feel welcome and like part of the class.
Yeah, it is welcome kits. I forgot all about that one. That was yes, that was torture on you guys, but it was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, we were able to learn some things about that.
A lot of things about education, and I'm going back to the last couple of people. I want you to, tell me your experience. But, I was a kindergarten teacher for 8 years, and I had to learn. No one gave me this intro, so I had to kind of build it. And I think it wasn't fair for my students that I was trying to figure out why I shouldn't have red in the classroom or why I shouldn't do this. So I really push on these ideas that I'm giving you, because it's not fair to your students that you take 5 years to figure it out, right? They should kind of have you up and going, and you should have a beautiful, beautiful classroom before they even get there. So that is my challenge, to make sure you guys are going to be super great teachers. Who's next? Genesis, you want to go?
Yeah, I think like the same thing for me. I'm not like a big technology person like at all. So like this class like did help me. Like again, I actually didn't have like PowerPoint or Microsoft downloaded on my computer either. I downloaded it for the class. So it was like very helpful like learning all of that. Also like when we all like did the chapters and like our presentations, like I think I learned a lot about that, and like a lot about like the chapter I did, which was like the grieving one as well.
Everybody was stuck on death. Wow. Okay. Bernadette?
Yeah, I did the first chapter for the book, and I found that chapter really interesting because I never really thought about like welcome kits or like when a child leaves the school, like what you do. So it's kind of cool to learn that. And then all the other chapters, like you just got to learn a lot. And then going to the school and actually being able to like see some of the stuff happen was pretty cool. And the same with technology. I really don't know how to use technology.
You do. You did really well. The thing about it was, because we left school, there's 5 things I didn't do with you, but that's okay. I'll tell the next teacher to catch up with you. Yeah. Case?
Okay.
I really like the book as well. I think it's really cool to like read about a teacher's perspective. And I also really liked how, because I'm in 201 as well, and it like really focused on like the theories of like education and like kind of being a teacher and like saying the content. But I really liked how in your class we were able to like think about setting up the classroom more. So it was like a different perspective of education.
Awesome. I don't know, Zaire, are you ready to give a little feedback on how the class changed you or gave you a little insight?
Yes. So first off, I'm sorry for being late. I thought class started at 3:30. I don't know why. But
okay.
I like the class because like I like to like have like when we were in school, I like the discussions that we had. I feel like I like to get feedback from like my classmates, but I also like how you like instead of just telling us to read the book, like you decided to have us do chapters and present them. So it was cool to like get it like that because like I don't really like to read that much.
Yep.
And I also and I also like going to like the fieldwork class because I like and I like how you put me in like a 5th grade class even though I want a younger grade because like I actually did like 5th grade. Wasn't bad.
Okay, good.
So yeah.
Did I miss anyone? I think everyone went. Yeah. Okay. I really enjoyed having you guys. I love you guys in Manhattan College. You're awesome students. Awesome. You really are A students. And if you just promise me that you'll continue to use the skills and technology in your other classes, even if they don't ask you. So if they tell you to do a PowerPoint, say, Dr. Bouchel wouldn't have let me get away with this bullet thing. Or, you know, when you're doing a discussion, this is not a paragraph. She would never let me put I agree. So just kind of use those